Okay, so this is how you make a bowl. You always want to start with the best piece of clay you can. So you want to wedge all of your clay very thoroughly. I'm going to make a bunch of bowls today, but I'm going to show you how to make this one. When I start out, picking your clay amount is important. One, it's just wasteful if you trim a bunch of clay and then have to recycle it. I suppose it's not wasteful, but if your time is valuable, it can be wasteful, because that means you're going to have to recycle all the clay that you waste. So for all these balls right here, they are 2 pounds each, and that should make a decent sized soup bowl. So once you have your wedged piece of clay ready, grab a bat, make sure it's clean, make sure your wheel's on, that might help. Make sure your wheel's plugged in. Probably not going to be a problem for you. Okay, I'm back. Wheels plugged in. Let me make sure. Yep, wheels plugged in. It's important. Don't unplug your wheel right before you start throwing. Okay, so making a bowl is really simple. All you have to do is center your clay, and if you're throwing a bowl and it's really, the brim is real wavy and just not straight, go ahead, go and watch that video. Link will be in the description. If you can't center very good, then your pot or bowl or whatever you're throwing will not be good in the end, because your clay is not centered to begin with. Okay, so let me center this clay bowl real quick. Oh, it came off. Okay, so whenever you throw a bowl, probably the most important part is opening the bowl. I want to nip the edge of that off real quick. So whenever you're throwing, the most important part would be opening. Alright, so I want to bring the wheel back up to nearly full speed, and I'm going to take my thumb, just start it out. Then I'm going to actually take my fingertips full of water and put a little puddle in the hole. And what that is going to do is, as I open it, I'm going to be pushing my thumbs down, and all that water is going to get in between my fingers, and it's going to cause it to lubricate the hole so it doesn't just dry out. And if it does dry out, what will happen is your fingers will stick to the sides and it'll pull you off center easier. So use a lot of water when you first open. And I'm actually going to leave a lot of clay in the bottom. Not a crazy amount, but you want about a ½ inch to work with the bottom. And I'll put a picture up of the foot, and if you measure how thick the foot is, you want about a ½ inch, so that once you trim the foot into it, the bottom of your bowl still has thickness. And after I'm done throwing this one, I'll actually cut it in half and show you. So now what we do is the first pull, and if you know how to pull a cylinder, you're gonna kind of pull like up in like a U shape. So you're going to give the clay a little more leeway to the outside. Nip that off, compress, pull anything off that's just ready to fall off from your first pull, compress your brim, and then we're ready for the second pull. So now the second pull is probably the hardest one. It's where you give your bowl all of its shape. Or some of its shape anyways. Make sure that every time you come into the bottom, you compress very hard into the bottom. Not so much that you push it thin, but you want to make sure if there's any air bubbles that they get kind of pushed out of the clay at this point. Alright, so now we're ready for another pull. And the bigger your bowl gets, the slower your wheel should be turning. And I just grabbed some slip off the bat. One, I'm throwing without a splash guard to get a better camera angle. And two, slip is a lot better for your clay than water. Because the slip is more clay than it is water, so it doesn't soak into the pot as much. Alright, so now we're going to take the sponge and we're going to compress the bottom. The more compressed the bottom is, the better. And if you fire a piece and it ends up S-cracking, the most likely thing that it can be is one, you didn't compress the bottom of your bowl enough, and two, that you had way too much water. So using the sponge to compress, I'm soaking up any of the extra water that's down there, as well as adding a final compression to the bottom. Compress the brim. The brim is very important. You don't want it to crack or chip. And then just give it a sponge on the outside where you fix any of the shaping errors that you have. Then we clean the bat off. And then we're going to cut it in half. A sacrifice bowl to throwing today, I guess. It looks really nice, has a good shape. So let's cut it in half. Using a wire tool, cut it down. Make sure you give it a little saw if you're actually cutting something off. And then we're just gonna grab it and it should pull right away. Okay. So I didn't get all the way to the back. But also know that whenever you cut stuff off, your wire actually lifts up in the middle a little bit. So you want to give a little extra leeway for that as well. Let me push this back down. Okay, so I'm just going to look at right here since that side got messed up. So we have about, about a pinky's worth of clay, about a half, fourth of an inch, give or take. And then we have the wall start. So whenever I'm trimming, I'm taking in note that we're gonna have this wall shape. So let me just like kind of cut that off. So if I was trimming, I might go for something, if you want like a tight foot, you'd probably nip it in, start your foot there, and then you'd be trimming this whole middle section out to have like a little foot run around the entire edge. And this is kind of where you can measure where your foot's going to be, how thick your clay is. You can either measure it or you can just kind of guess a little bit. So that's the cross cut. I trim the body down as well a little bit, and then I trim the foot into it. So that's kind of the cross cut of it. So overall, pretty good bowl. It's not thin in the bottom. That's why I use 2 pounds of clay. Some people recommend 1.5 pounds, but I think those people are not trimming the bottoms. All right, so that's how you throw a bowl. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I make a video. Thanks for watching.